Hello everyone, myself Juvera Siddhika. Today in this session I am going to discuss about the cholera, which is again come under in the category of waterborne diseases. In the previous class I discussed about the typhoid, and now let us see. Coming to the cholera is a acute dihedral and illness caused by infection of the intestine with the bacteria Vibrio cholerae. So this is a Vibrio cholerae is a bacteria which again cause the infection into the gastrointestinal tract, and this is related to the waterborne and the foodborne diseases. Coming to the pathophysiology, Vibrio cholerae is a comma-shaped, gram-negative, aerobic or facultative anaerobic bacillus. So, this is a gram-negative bacillus or the bacteria, where bacillus that varies in the size from 1 to 3 microns are in the length by the 0.5 to 0.8 micrometers in the diameters. So it is a very much smaller insect. These are like a microscopic organism which is again caused by the cause the infection into the gastrointestinal tract, which is termed as a cholera. Its antigenic structure consists of like flagellar H antigen and somatic O antigen. If you see the structure under the microscope, it may be exist into the two parts. One is like a flagellar H antigen and the somatic O antigen, which cause the damage into the intestinal of the host. And then virulence and the pathogenicity, how it will be take place. First of all, ingestion of Vibrio cholerae. So ingestion means taking in. It may be entered into the body of individuals with the way of like a water, the drinking water or any polluted water. By the taking of that water, it may enter into the gastrointestinal tract and then resistant to the gastric acid. So as we know, our gastrointestinal system is containing the some acid which may cause the death of the microorganisms, but these virus or these pathogen is get the resistance against this gastric acid, so it may survive throughout this gastric acid. As a result, it forms the colonies, means it is developed to form the colony into the intestine, that is the small intestine. Virulence of non-toxigenic Vibrio cholerae, that is the O1 strain, not well understood. So see, it secretes the enterotoxins. Toxins are nothing but the poisonous substances which again cause the harm to the internal tissues. So these are the enterotoxins which may be secreted into the intestine, and these enterotoxins are bind to the intestinal cells. As a result, chloride channels are activated and release the large quantities of electrolytes and the bicarbonates, and fluid hypersecretion, diarrhea, and as a result dehydration will be take place. So in this cholera condition, the patient's condition become the serious due to the high loss of the water in the form of the dehydration as a result of the diarrhea. And what are the host factors? If we talk about the host factors, see, first of all, the age. The children's, that is from the 10 years more the susceptible than the 10 rates more susceptible than the adults. So in the children's, it may cause a more damage to the this infection, and our elderly also high susceptible. And sex, if we talk about the sex, equal in the both in the female and the males. And immunity, less immune is a high risk, means the people who have the less immunity may be the high risk of the getting this type of infections. People with low gastric acid level, so the persons who have the low gastric acid level, they may not prevent or they may not resist to this type of the pathogen. As a result, it leads the infection into the intestinal system. And see the comparison, the persons who are more prone to this disease, first of all O, let's see here the O antigen, the person having the O blood group are the most susceptible, then B, then A, then AB blood groups. So the persons who are dealing with the O blood group are high susceptible to this type of the diseases, means they are highly in the risk to get this type of the infection. And what are the risk factors? See, the risk factors is, first one is poor sanitary condition. So any infection that may cause by the not maintaining the good and healthy hygienic condition. So where the people live in the poor sanitary condition, they are also more susceptible to this type of the diseases. So the first condition, poor sanitary condition, rare in the developed countries, common in the Asia, Africa and the Latin America. So India, we belong to the India, and in the India also the susceptibility of this disease is also more. And the raw or uncooked food, the first condition when we get this type of infection, that is the poor sanitary condition. And the second one is about the raw or undercooked food, contaminated seafood, even in the developed countries, seafood. And then especially the shellfishes, the persons who eat the aquatic organisms from the sea sources. So in that organism, as a result, the uncontaminated seafood, means the any polluted water is there, so the aquatic organism which is grow in that polluted water, that may lead the contamination. As a result of that contamination, eating food, the person may risk to get this type of infection. And then hypochlorhydria, people with low level of stomach acid. So if the stomach acid, hypochlorhydria means HCl, which is present in the body of the intestinal acid, that is the hydrochloric acid is there. So if the level is less, then such type of individuals also does not resist to this type of infection. As a result, hypo means less here, so less level of the stomach acid, such as children's, older adults and the some medications. Type O bloods, the person who have the type O bloods are the twice more likely, means they are again the risk to get this type of the infections. Reason aren't entirely clear, but they are the more reasons, they are more likely to get this type of the infections. So if we talk about the risk factor for getting the cholera, the first one is about like a poor sanitary condition, raw or undercooked food, and then hypochlorhydria, and then type O blood groups. And then transmission. What are the transmission? How the transmission will be take place between the human, or the what we can say here, the pathogen and the reservoir and the host cell. So first one is the humans only reservoirs. Humans are the reservoirs, means they just carry these pathogens, they are the reservoirs. Contaminated food are the water. The second one is about the contaminated food, that is the inadequate sewage treatment. If the sewage treatment is not properly done in one particular area, that may lead the what we can say, the pollution into that environment. As a result, the water is also getting polluted. As a result, it may also risk to getting this type of the infection. And the lack of water treatment, improperly cooked shellfishes. Shellfishes in the sense again the prawns, and the crabs, which are again the aquatic organism, which is a highly source of the salt food or the seafood, and the transmission by the casual contact unlikely. And the period of communicability. During the acute stage, a few days after the recovery, by the end of week, the 70% of the patients non-infectious, means maybe it take a 1 week time. After that they may be tested as not that much of the what we can say infection. The infection may be reduced to the 70%, but by the end of the third week 98% is the non-infectious, means it may take near about a third 3 weeks time or the duration to clear out from this infection. And what is the incubation? Ranges from a few hours to the 5 days. The incubation period is, it may be start from the few hours to the 5 days minimum, means you may assume like a 1 week. And then average, if you take the average how many days the incubation period is take place, that is the 1 to 3 days. And then shorter incubation period, high gastric pH. From the use of antacids. Why this high gastric pH is maintained? Means by the use of antacids, and then consumption of the high doses of Culra. We can cure by using of the medication or the dose against the Culra. What is the infectious dose? Water. The infectious dose is 10 to the power of 3 to the 10 to the power of 6 organisms, means here the infection is caused by the contamination water. In that water, for a 1 dose, means if we want to measure the how many infection rate is there, so in the 1 dose how many bacteria how many pathogens are present, that may be approximate 10 to the power of 3 to the 10 to the power of 6 number of organisms. Instead ingested with the food, fewer organisms, that is the 10 to this. So water, if the entry of these organisms are the microorganisms, that is how much rate? 10 to the 10 to the power of 6 rate among the individuals that may be transmit. By the source of food, how much? That is the 10 to the power of 2 to the 10 to the power of 4 individuals are entered into the body of organisms. And now if we see the symptoms, usually mild or no symptoms at all. Might be some symptoms are there, but 70% of the individuals are asymptomatic, 20% see the mild disease, 2 to 5% see the severe condition. Severe means high risk in the infection will be more. And then vomitings, cramps, and profuse painless diarrhea and vomiting of the clear fluid. And here one particular term is there, that is a rice water fluid. So whatever the water or the vomit is there, that would be look like as a rice water. And as a result, if we see this, it should be look like as a rice water, and without the treatment, death in the 18 hours in the 18 hours to several days. So what happened? At the proper condition, oral rehydration solutions or over rehydration liquids are not given to the individuals. As a result, due to the high loss of water, as a result of dehydration, the individuals are suffered to the death. So first symptoms, maximum there is a not that much of severity in this case, but the proper rehydration process will be given by the individuals who are suffer from this condition. But here as we know, that is the 75% are the asymptomatic, 20% are mild, means medium in the condition, which is showing some type of symptoms. But the severity is only the 2 to 5%, but it may also lead the death. Severity level is less, but what happened here, if the severity condition, the loss of more water from the body of individuals, as a result it may also leads to the death. And vomiting due to the intestinal infection, and light muscle pain, that is the intestinal muscle or the stomach pain is there, that is called as the cramps. So this is like a diarrhea, how the diarrhea will be formed, that is the like a typical rice watery diarrhea. And the type, if you talk about the some types of cholera, like a cholera gravis, more severe symptom. Grave means again related to the death, means in this condition the person who was suffer from this type of infection, if the severity level is more, then they may also lead the death. This type of, that's why it is name given as like a cholera gravis. The more severe symptom, severe means more in the infection is there, rapid loss of body fluid, it produces 10 to 20 liters. See how much water, how much body water is secreted from the body of individuals in the form of the diarrhea. 107 vibrios per milliliter. Only if we count the 1 milliliter, then how much microorganisms are present, that is the 107. Rapidly lost more than the 10% of body weight. Dehydration and the shock, means if the total water is going outside from the body of individual, as a result dehydration shock will be occur. So as we know, when the temperature is more in the summer season, so as a result due to the sunstroke, sun shock is also take place, and that may also cause the death of individuals. Here also in this condition, due to the high loss of water, due to the dehydration shock will occur. Patients skin turning a bluish gray and due to from the extreme loss of fluid. Death within 12 hours are the less, and death can occur within 2 to hours. So this is a very much risky condition of the cholera. Here the only the severity is based on the loss of water from the body. And the another word is like cholera sicca. Cholera sicca is an old term describing a rare, severe form of cholera that occurs in the epidemic cholera. So one particular area where only the one particular one region is going to be suffer, it like a contagious, the water which is used by the total community, in that water, so that area, the persons who are belong to that particular area, that is come under as a epidemic cholera. Suppose if a water of pond which is going to be polluted, and that water is taken up by all the community members in that region or in that village region, so due to by ingestion of that polluted water, one particular community is going to be infected. So the type of cholera is called as like a epidemic cholera. This form of cholera manifests as ileus and the abdominal distensions from the massive outpouring of fluid and electrolytes into the dilated intestinal loops. And mortality is high, means the death rate is high, with the death resulting from the toxemia before the onset of diarrhea and the vomiting. So here the death is caused by the toxins, which are the enterotoxins, which are secreted by the Vibrio cholera into the intestinal system. The mortality in this condition is high because of the unusual presentation, failure to recognize the condition as a form of cholera in the common. So this is the category which is come under into the one epidemic cholera. And what happens if it is the infection is seen into the children? Cholera in the children, that is the breastfed infants are protected. As we know, the breastfeeding babies who are get the immunity from the milk, from the mother milk, so these are not that much of prone to the infection of the cholera, but they are the protected from this type of infection. And symptoms are symptoms and fever is frequent, shock and the drowsiness and the coma is the common. Hypoglycemia, low level of sugar is recognized complication which may lead the convulsions. Rotavirus infection may give similar picture and need to be excluded. So as a result, so if we talk about the condition of the cholera, the infection in the cholera into the children, we can see that who is protected, who is safe from this type of infection. The children who are getting the breastfeed from the mothers, maybe the symptoms are occur, but the fever is the frequent, shock is there, and then drowsiness and the that is the coma is the common situation. And the major thing is that there is a hypoglycemia, the low level of the sugar level will be down in the seen due to these convulsions. And the rotavirus infection, again we can see it is similar to this type of infection. And see the what are the consequences of severe dehydration. So what are the consequences means how the risk factor is there, or the how the severe condition is there by this cholera disease, the Vibrio cholerae. So intravascular volume depletion and severe metabolic acidosis, hypokalemia, that is the cardiac arrest will be take place, means the heartbeat will be stop and the cardiac arrest will take place due to the disturbances, or you can say the disturbances in the muscle membrane or the chloride level high and the low blood sugar level, that is called as the hypoglycemia. And the seizures and the coma, seizures are like all the joints or the limbs are getting to be converted, and then coma especially in the young, and cardiac and the renal failure, sunken eyes, decreased the skin turgor, and the almost no urine production. Why? Because it affect on the renal system failure, it affect on the kidneys, so that's why there is a problem in the formation of the urine. So these are like a high risk factors or high risk conditions which may be seen due to the severe dehydration. So this is like first one is like a intravascular volume depletion and the severe metabolic acidosis and the hypokalemia. Due to that is the cardiac arrest will be take place, and the low blood sugar, the sugar level will be less, and the seizures and coma especially in the young people, and cardiac and the renal failure. See what happens here, due to the infection the cardiac system, the functioning of the heart is also the abnormal in condition. As a result, the kidneys are also getting to be fail. As a result, what happened, there is a no production of urine. And then what is the diagnosis? How can we diagnose this condition? The first one is like a clinical diagnosis. Cholera should be considered in all the cases with the severe watery diarrhea and the vomiting. In which condition we are saying that this is a cholera? Means a person who is suffer from the severe watery diarrhea as well as the vomiting. Traveling to the affected areas and eating the shellfishes. So if a person who is travel to that affected area, or they are getting any taking any ingestion of that infected water or the polluted water for the drinking purpose, as a result they may get a chance of getting this type of infection. And then no distinguishing clinical manifestations for the cholera. There is no particular type of any characters are there. But see here the differential diagnosis. The another one is like a enterotoxogenic E. coli, and then bacterial food poisoning. It is also when the bacterial food we are eating, then due to that food poisoning the food is damaged by the bacteria by eating such type of food, again it may lead to the cholera by the entry of Vibrio cholerae. Viral gastroenteritis are the rotavirus. Again, if we talk about the examinations, it may be like a stool culture, stool examination, confirm the presence of cholera toxin, and the cholera rapid test dipsticks. So these are the methods by which again with the examination of the material we can see the presence of the cholera infection. And other lab findings, so see here dehydration leads to the high blood urea and serum creatinine, that is the hematocrit, and the WBC will also be high due to the hemo concentration. So as the water is lost from the body of individuals, as a result the blood concentration will getting more. Due to that, high level of the serum creatinine is present and high level of the blood urea due to the low level of water will be present. And then dehydration and the bicarbonates loss in the stool leads to the metabolic acidosis with wide anion gaps. So here the channels, the anion channels are there. Due to that, high level of anion channels is there. Due to that, the metabolic dysfunction is take place. As a result, we can confirm the bicarbonate loss in the stools. Total body potassium is depleted, but serum level may be normal due to the effect of acidosis. So here the level of potassium is going to be decreased. And what are the treatment? If we talk about the treatment, that is the first one is rehydration. D means removal of the water from the body. Rehydration means gaining the water for the body or uptake of liquids, but that is in the form of like oral or the intravenous, by the form of like any direct it enters into the veins, or the by giving injections, or by saline or liquids are there by the entering into the venous system as a result. And then another one is like oral, by drinking any rehydration solutions. And then antimicrobial therapy. And then again treatment, as we know, rehydration is accomplished in the two phases. One is like a rehydration by getting the liquid fluids, and maintenance. Treatment of cholera, how the rehydration will be given. The goal of the rehydration phase is to restore normal hydration status with the should take no more than 4 hours. Set the rate of intravenous infusions in the severely dehydrated patients at the 50 to 100 ml per kg per hour. And lactate ringer solution is preferred over isotonic sodium chloride solution. This lactate is very much important because saline does not correct metabolic acidosis. And another is like maintenance, how the maintenance will be take place. The goal of the maintenance phase is to maintain the normal hydration status by the replacing ongoing losses. The oral route is preferred, and the use of oral rehydration solution ORS at a rate of 500 to 1000 milliliter per hour is recommended. Fluid should never be restricted. And lastly, what are the prevention? How can we prevent from by getting this type of infections? That is a comprehensive multidisciplinary approach. That is the water, sanitation, education and communication. These are the major source. How can we prevent this type of infection? And then basic health education and hygiene. So everyone has to know the health, their personal health and hygiene, and they have to be educate the peoples in the any area which is again the polluted or the contamination by this type of infections. And then mass chemoprophylaxis, they have to know the chemical treatments to the given to that water sources, and then provisions of the safe water and the sanitations. So by this we are end up with the topic.